There are some stories out there that they don't make any sense. Tales of planes that vanish, deaths that seem impossible, and killers who become ghosts. Today, we're going to dig into some of America's most famous unsolved mysteries and try to figure out what it is about them that makes them so captivating. I mean, really think about it. Some of these cases have witnesses, they have timelines, a few even have physical clues. But they never really end, do they? They just morph into this modern folklore. So what is it? What gives these stories their incredible staying power? And that's it, right there. That's the core of it. It's the void, that missing final chapter. See, our brains are basically hardwired to find answers, to connect the dots. And when we can't, we're just left to wonder. That unanswered question, that's the fuel for our obsession. Okay, so let's start with maybe the most fundamental kind of mystery, the complete and total disappearance. We're talking about cases where people, planes, even ships just seem to have been, erased from existence, leaving nothing behind but a giant question mark. Just look at the pattern here for a second. You've got a hijacker who literally just jumps out of a plane into nothingness, a perfectly fine blimp that crashes, but with no pilots on board, a college student who gets into a minor car crash on a snowy night and is just gone. In every single case, the person is simply erased, leaving behind this perfect little impossible puzzle. And as baffling as those stories are, they almost feel small compared to a mystery that has become a true cornerstone of American legend. A mystery that didn't just take one person, but a whole group of highly trained pilots, and then, somehow, it came back for their rescuers. It all starts out so routine, but it spirals into chaos incredibly fast. 5 Navy bombers, 14 men, they just get lost. And their final message is just pure dread. We don't know where we are. But the real kicker, the thing that makes this so chilling is what happens next. A rescue plane with 13 crew members is sent to find them, and it disappears too. No wreckage, no signals, nothing. 6 aircraft and 27 men just gone. That's how a mystery becomes a legend. All right, but what happens when the victim is found? You'd think that would solve things, right? Well, sometimes that just makes the mystery even deeper. Our next set of cases are all about deaths where the clues, the physical circumstances, they seem to completely defy the laws of logic. The case of Elisa Lam is, it's pure nightmare fuel. It starts with something totally mundane, bad water pressure at a hotel. But the discovery is anything but. Her body is found inside a sealed water tank on a locked roof. And then there's that infamous elevator video. In it, she seems absolutely terrified, like she's hiding from something or someone that just isn't there. So that's the thing that gets you, right? How? The lid to that water tank was incredibly heavy. The rooftop was locked and alarmed. There were no signs of anyone else being up there. The official story is that it was an accidental drowning, but that explanation just doesn't line up with the physical reality of the scene. It leaves this massive, gaping hole where logic is supposed to be. Okay, here's another number for you, one that represents a total breakdown of logic, 19.4 miles. What does that even mean? Well, it's the distance one of the bodies of the Yuba County Five was found from their abandoned car in the middle of a snowy wilderness. This is exactly why they call the Yuba County Five case the American Dyatlov Pass. You have 5 young men with developmental disabilities who abandoned their perfectly working car to flee into a blizzard. Months later, their bodies are found scattered for miles. One of them had starved to death inside a trailer, surrounded by canned food. Others were found barefoot in the snow. You just have to ask, what on earth could have terrified these men so much that this seemed like the logical thing to do? And that brings us to our last category, the mysteries that are so woven into a place's culture that they've literally become ghost stories. These aren't just cold cases anymore. They're an active part of a town or a city's identity. I mean, just listen to this. The Axeman of New Orleans, this guy wasn't just a killer. He was this phantom that held the entire city hostage. He sends this letter to the newspaper promising he'll spare anyone who's playing jazz music loudly in their home. And you know what? The city listened. For one night, New Orleans was just filled with jazz, this citywide party born out of pure terror. And then, poof, he was gone, leaving behind nothing but a ghost story. And then you have the absolutely heartbreaking story of the Sodder children. Officially, a tragic house fire on Christmas Eve, 5 children lost. But the family, they spent the rest of their lives convinced their children were kidnapped. Why? Because when they sifted through the ashes, they found no remains, not a single bone. Then, decades later, a photo shows up in the mail, a man who looks exactly like their missing son Louis. So you're left with these two totally incompatible stories, a terrible accident and a lifetime of agonizing hope. Okay, so we've looked at all these incredible cases, disappearances, bizarre deaths, haunting legends. So what's the common thread here? What are the key pieces that make a mystery so powerful, so unforgettable, that we just keep coming back to it? It seems like every single one of these enduring mysteries has the same core ingredients. First, you've got that complete lack of evidence, right? Think Flight 19, no bodies, no wreckage. Then there's the totally baffling human behavior, like with the Yuba County Five. You get a chilling message, like the Axeman's letter. There's never a clear motive. But really the most important part is the void. These stories don't end, they just stop. And it feels like it's our job to try and write that final page. And that really leaves us with one last thought. What happens when the story has no end? Well, it becomes ours. It becomes a puzzle we can pick up and put down, a ghost we can argue about, a question that we, the audience, get to try and answer for ourselves. And maybe that's why we can never truly look away.